Hello there, Pursuing Freedom podcast listeners, and thanks for being here. I am looking forward to introducing you to a guy named Rob Tait, who I just met through a friend of mine who works at Keller Williams, and basically described Rob as a rock star in everything real estate. He got into the real estate industry in 2009 after a background in financial services and was basically hired to help figure out how to get one office financially back on track, and has gone on to be a mentor and a resource to individual agents, teams, groups all over the country and Keller Williams nationwide. And he is just a wealth of resource and a wealth of knowledge. And we've been rambling for far too long off the record here. So we just need to go ahead and start recording because I've already learned so much in just a short time talking to Rob. So with no further ado, Rob, tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up in the crazy world of real estate, and we'll just go from there.
Sure. So I got into real estate in the wonderful time of 2009 when listings were flying off the shelves and people were begging you to sell their home, and it was glory. Like money fell on me.
It was so easy.
It was awesome. Yeah. And so I got into real estate to help turn around an office, as you said. And then I was like, this real estate thing seems really cool if people did it right. And so part of my job was to get agents to actually sell, to do something like, hey man, if you sell something, guess what? You'll pay your mortgage. I don't know if you're into that, but I am. So let's go do that. And so I got my license, after turning that office around, and then selling a few houses. And then I opened my first office. Well, I actually purchased my first office and turned it around and sold it off in 2014. That was in South Denver. And then I moved up to Fort Collins in 2014 and launched an office from scratch there. We got it up to like 175 brokers in a few years, and then left Fort Collins for personal reasons. I wanted to move down to Denver because I was tired of, I'd focused on my career for most of my life, and like 1 in 10 people in Fort Collins is single. And that probably doesn't include, uneligibles.
Right.
And I didn't want to date a 23-year-old in college going keg stands like, woo, like, how was class today? Like, that was the one I was, into.
How about now?
So I moved back down to Denver. Yeah, right. I'm still not married, but I'm currently, hanging out with somebody who's fantastic. She's absolutely wonderful.
Awesome.
So then so I came down here. I helped a team that was Austin based. So they were in Austin, and then they grew to Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, or one more location, I just can't remember. And he's like, hey, I want to get out of Texas. Would you help launch my team into Denver? I was like, sure, that sounds fun. Like, I haven't done that before. And a certain time, and, so I helped him do that. And then we also launched in Reno, Atlanta, and another location in Texas. And then I got asked to launch the Keller Williams office in the Highlands. And so that was in November of last year. And I said, that sounds fun too. I'll go do that. So I went and, launched another office in November. We started with 17 agents. We're now up to 90 agents in, 9 months or so, give or take, I think 10 months. And then that brings us to current.
So that's a lot and very impressive, and just leaves me with so many questions. So first and foremost, when you got into the business, you came in with a background of finance, which was really critical in helping folks in real estate who are struggling to figure out how to get the business to be profitable, which I think is a major issue in our industry. A lot of people see real estate as a cool, fun business, and they get their license and they jump right in, but they're missing the fact that you also require business skill, you require training on how to sell, how to manage, how to delegate. I mean, all that stuff. So as you've gone from, hey, I'm a finance major in a real estate world, to today where you're helping develop agents and teams, what kind of training have you been receiving along the way? I mean, do you have one direct person that's your mentor along the way, or do you just kind of seek out mentoring from anyone and everyone?
Yes. So the answer to the question is yes and no. Like, I don't have one that's just been the one forever. And yes, I've always had a mentor. Excuse me. So I'm here in Austin right now, and the allergies are nuts, even though I'm on like 3 Claritin and just a bunch of things just to be alive. So I was really fortunate that I was in a company that provided such easy access to some great minds, some great coaching, some great mentoring, some great education. And the access is literally like a buffet. It's like all you have to do is say, I want that one and that one. So my first mentor was a guy named Al Alba. Absolutely fantastic. Jim Slinkard, another just icon in the industry. And then I started following a guy named Gene Rivers. Gene sold over 5,000 homes, owns 3 brokerages, and just, you know, all around like amazing person. And Gene's had a ton of influence in and around me. And then, you know, just other people, other businesses, you know, networking around. I think Gary said this from stage at some point. I mean, I'm not so brilliant. I make this stuff on my own. I just remember it. He said, if any problem in your life if you have any problem in your life, you're probably missing a relationship.
That's awesome.
So go find, like if you're struggling in this aspect of your business, go meet somebody who's good at it and talk them into telling you what to do, and then go do it.
That's awesome. So I've had this conversation with a few people where I feel like as soon as I started finding people to mastermind with and realizing that there's mentors all around me, just like that you're seeking out relationships to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. That didn't happen for me immediately in my career in the real estate industry as a lender. But once I discovered that, it became a very purposeful part of my routine in life and in business. And I think that our industry is good about that. Did you have that in you in your previous life in financial services, or is that something that you felt inspired by or molded by as you developed in the real estate industry? Does that make sense? Like, did you come into it hungry for mentorship, leadership, soaking up information, or did you develop into that since getting into this business?
I don't think I naturally understood why mentors were important and how they could literally, you know, decrease the time, therefore increasing my trajectory to any destination I wanted to do. And I've always been impatient. You know, no one has ever tried to apply the word patience to me. It's, you know, like if you ask anybody I know, I'd be like, is Rob patient? They almost cry laughing. So the idea that by talking to you and learning from you, I can do something bigger, better, stronger, faster is ridiculously appealing to me. Like, I'm in, done. Yeah. Let's go do that now. Start tomorrow. And so, you know, kind of early on in my career, I was fortunate. I started at 26. I was just fortunate that they just leaned into me, right? And I didn't have to raise my hand and go, hey. They would say, hey, you do this, and you get the thing you want. And I'd be like, I want my thing. I'm going to go do that. So like it made sense. This A equals B. So I didn't have an argument. I was like, okay, I'll go do that. I think people get into real estate, and I've interviewed thousands of brokers at this point. I always hear freedom and flexibility. Always. I can't think of an interview where somebody said, you know, I studied the real estate industry, and based on that industry and everything else I can do with the barriers of entry and the SWOT analysis and yada, yada, this is a great place to be. I've never met anybody who's like, I like freedom and flexibility. And then recently they throw in a little HD TV, and, or they say, my friends say I'd be good at this, is all the answers. And yes, real estate can absolutely afford freedom, flexibility, all that sort of stuff. What they don't understand is real estate doesn't afford that. The profits you generate in real estate can afford that. And if you don't understand what gets you profits, then you'll never get freedom and flexibility. But if you use real estate to directly chase freedom and flexibility, you'll have freedom in terms of you won't be told what to do, but you won't have freedom of, well, I can go on this cool vacation or this cool vacation. Like, it's the freedom to choose if you want ramen with the beef in it or ramen with the chicken flavor. Like, that's your freedom level if you treat it as such. So
I think that's amazing and genius. I might be making that the title, because so real estate doesn't afford freedom and flexibility. Profit affords freedom and flexibility. I've talked about this before, where when I first hired my first business coach after 3 years of being flat broke as a 100% commission person. And she talked to me about my desire for freedom, and I was doing 5 jobs, including lending. And she was like, which one of these can give you financial freedom? And I said, this one. She said, then you need to cut everything else, because until you have financial, meaning profit, you'll never enjoy the freedom you're ultimately seeking. So it's basically the same thing, but in a much more eloquent way of saying it. So thank you.
Well, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Drop the mic, dude. I think we're done here.
All right. Hey, it was good talking to you. I'm going to go make some more profit.
Thanks for being on the show. Okay, I also heard a lot in your intro where you were talking about, so
you froze. Oh, are you back? Is it me or you?
Okay, did I lose you
back?
for a second? Yeah.
Yeah, you froze. I don't know if I froze.
Well, we can cut that part out and jump right back in.
It was terrible anyway. I wasn't eloquent.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that when you were introducing yourself, you mentioned that, you had, obviously you came in, you worked on one project, then you bought your own brokerage, you sold it later, you went to Fort Collins, later you came down to Denver, and now I know that you're responsible for helping several individual agents as well as teams here and, like you mentioned, in other states. So how is it structured nowadays with your career? Who calls on you? Like, who's calling on you now? Is it anybody that you've encountered along the way, or do you have sort of specific clients within Keller Williams that you're serving right now?
What do you mean calls on me? Like gives me a ring and says, "Hey, Rob, I hear you're pretty cool.
Well, just like, for example, my friend Felicia Medina, who introduced me to you, just mentioned to me that, you've helped her a lot. And so I'm just curious, is it anybody and everybody who wants to soak up knowledge from you comes to you, or do you
I see your question.
Or do you have a specific set of like people that you're working with and on, like is there a start and an end to your time with an agent or a team is what I'm getting at?
I think most relationships are seasonal. In terms of, I think people are with you for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And lifetime people are super rare. Like, so I think everybody's more or less with me for a season. Sometimes that season is I get them to a certain point and then they find somebody better than me. Great. Like, go to him. Sometimes we develop such a strong connection that I move from like coach or that sort of thing to more like friend or, smart guru or whatever, sort of thing. And I'm not as impactful. And so they got to bounce me, that sort of thing. Or I move from Fort Collins to Denver and I'm like, peace guys, that sort of thing. So how I'm structured, at least in my current life is, if you do a decent amount of production, I'm willing to coach you. In my office, if you're in my top the quartile, if you're in my top 20%, I hunt you to coach you. I go, like for Felicia, for example, I go, Felicia, you told me that you wanted to do this by this. And I told you that I'm going to make sure you do that. I'm going to help. I'm engaged in you. So we need to talk about it. We need to get you on track or fix this, or, did you see this? And it's usually not chase them down. We have weekly meetings. So like Felicia and I right now are on weeklies, as I refer to it. So you go on weeklies as you're breaking through a ceiling of achievement. And then as you're kind of just climbing your rings, then you go on every other week until you hit your new ceiling of achievement. Then you go back on weeklies. It's the same reason, like you go to church every Sunday. Like I'm so terrible that if I don't get a little bit of church in a week, a month goes by or 2 months goes by, or like eventually feel really off base in my spirituality. The same things in your business, the same things, if you didn't see your significant other for X period of time, you don't feel connected with the relationship. So my top 20%, I make sure that we're dialoguing. And then anyone else, if they want to get into my coaching realm, because I want anyone to have access, I have a set of rules. I go, all right, so we're going to create a little activity task sheet. And if you complete your activity task sheet and bring it to me by our coaching appointment, you get to have that coaching appointment. If you don't, we don't have that coaching appointment and you don't get another one. So just do what you say you're going to do and we'll keep working together. The second you don't, we're done. And it's not like, well, my dog, my mom died. Like, I don't have, like, there's exceptions. I'm not an ogre. But if you're not in my top 20% and you still want that, you've got to show up. You've got to prove that you're showing up bigger, better, stronger, faster. And then I'm actually excited to teach those guys, whether it's they're brand new in real estate or, wherever their journey is.
So when you say the top 20%, are you talking about inside of one office in Denver? Or are you talking about inside of a region or what?
No, inside my office. So I've got 17 teams in my office, all ranging from like, top level 50. My biggest team right now, last year in 2017, they did 52 million. And this year they'll do like 75 million. And then our goal is 6 months from that or a year from now, that the head of that team is what we refer to as seventh level. Basically, a seventh level team, for those people who don't know, is the head of the team literally steps out of production and doesn't do anything other than lead the team manager, which then affords them to go, see different verticals. They can go coach, they can go, expand the business. They can expand the agent base on the business. They can pop their head out of sales and look around the competitive landscape and say, now let's go do this and let's do this. It really lets them be a business owner rather than a real estate agent or the head of a team. Like, you have a job until you have a job. When you step out, it falls apart. That's a job. It's a dependent relationship between you and that business. A single agent absolutely has a job, right? You step out of, you go on a month's vacation. Guess what? Your sales are going to suck. You're not going to do as well as if you stayed in it. Why? Because you're the only one. I really want to help people move from having a job to owning a business. So Mel will the $52 million one will, a year from now, literally own her team and not be a active, critical member of the daily operations.
So one question I would have.
And then I do have clients outside the brokerage too.
Are you the manager?
You kind of got to it's my free time. So I kind of got to like you. And not like, I've got to be interested in your business. You got to be engaged into it. That's my free time.
So are you the managing broker or the owner of that office?
So we do things a little bit differently. Well, especially me. I think the managing broker's skill set is legal and compliance. And I think that is not the skill set necessarily of fantastic leaders or trainers or coaches, right? Like, I can look at a contract and I'm very, very good at it, but I don't want to be looking at a contract every day, all day, all the time. Or I don't want to read contracts for an hour of every day. Like, oh God, no, it sounds terrible. But somebody does and they like it. So I hire the managing broker role. His job is to check contracts and, battle other brokers out there when somebody's naughty. And then we're a franchise, so we have a set of owners, that sort of thing. So,
got it. So, question for you: when I'm working with, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. When I'm working with coaching clients, the first thing I want to do is figure out what their natural born gifts are, right? And when we talk about going from a one-man band to a team, you and I were chatting earlier about how you really have to develop the skill set of going from the technician, to the manager, to the entrepreneur, the business owner, the leader, et cetera. So when you meet folks that are stuck in the rut of, I have a job, I'm a real estate agent, and if I step away, my business dries up because I'm the only solo agent, is everybody cut out for taking their business from I'm a technician to I'm an owner with a team underneath me and I am the visionary? Or do you think that's a unique set of talent or skills or whatever that would allow you to move from I'm a solo agent to I'm a business owner? I mean, how do you guys make that distinction? Or do you see that everybody's coachable into that direction? We all have our different strengths and weaknesses.
I think I'd like to answer the question in terms of chicken or egg, right? And what I mean by that is I think first you make the choice and then the choice makes you. So I think if you don't ever make the choice of wanting to do that, and I mean really the choice, right? Not like, oh, that sounds nice. Like, you know, everybody says being a millionaire sounds nice. I haven't met anybody, if you really get down to it, even the ones that don't love money, you're like, no, having $1 million right here in my hand would be fantastic. Like, I have options. I have so many options. But are you willing to really understand and therefore do what it takes to put the $1 million there in the hand? And so I think people that we say are natural to it, I think they've made the choice, right? And they're somewhere on the journey, and you're looking at them at some arrival point, right? Like, oh, you know, trace your history. You've always been doing this, like, you know, up until the point where you weren't. And then that was the choice marker, right? So I think, yes, anyone can do it. The real estate is so awesome. You don't need to be naturally smart. You don't need to be naturally charismatic. You don't need to be naturally, you know, you don't have to be great at vocabulary. Like, you can be fat, you can be skinny, you can be ugly, you can be smart, you could be the popular kid, you could be the kid that came from the streets that nobody knows. Like, I've seen them all. The difference is, are you going to make the choice to go here? And if you do, yeah, you can get there. There's no one's a naturally born leader. No one's a naturally born lead generator. No one's it's not natural to walk people around other people's personal spaces and go, so you want this? Isn't this pretty cool? Can't you picture yourself invading their space without their stuff and living the life you want to have? Like, none of our skills there are natural. They're developed.
That's really powerful. And where a lot of people miss the mark is that you can develop, you can work on yourself, you can develop yourself in anything you want to be. I was more curious because I was talking with a team leader in another real estate company who is in a role of being a mentor inside their organization. And so every time they get a handful of new agents in, he has them take the DISC personality profile test. And every once in a while, he'll get one where he looks at it and he thinks, man, you know, they're not naturally inclined to this industry based on their wiring, right? But then, but if they want it and they make the choice to do the work, then by all means they can develop. And on the flip side, it's like, I've met a number of realtors that are highly, highly successful with completely different DISC personality profile results, right? Or any other test for that matter. And I think that's just it, is that they make the decision to do the work. And at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's not rocket science. It's just do the thing to get what you want. And this is the thing to do. So if you do that, you're going to get results.
Yeah. Covey wrote a book on this. It's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, not 2 DISC profiles that hopefully you were born with.
Great. No, that's an awesome book. What are some other books that you love and recommend to people that you're coaching?
You know, each one kind of depends. Like, you know, and this isn't a shameless plug. I dare somebody to show me another book that outlines what you should do in a real estate business. And I use that word with a capital B, not like I have business, or I'm busy. But it's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book.
I was going to say MREA. Yeah. Yes.
It's like the manual. It's like, I call it stereo instructions. It's not the most entertaining to read. Sometimes you're pissed because the speaker doesn't seem to work when really you put in the wrong wires. And it's a manual that's a broad stroke. There's no way to follow it to a T. It's not a turn off your brain, stupid book. Here is the best concepts and understanding of what research has said. Here's a really good way to run a business in real estate. And I bet you, I've given it to a number of business owners and said, what do you think? And they're like, it's not much different. If you guys had inventory, this would be like a book for me, like inventory management. We just, you know, our inventory isn't ours, so we don't have to manage it. The concepts in there are basic business concepts. Go follow them. And if you understand it, if you study it, what you discover is you start to become more of a business agent or business person. And that process then will plug you in. Like Great Game of Business is a wonderful book to read if you're going to grow any sort of business, including a real estate business. You know, but I don't recommend Great Game of Business to a newer agent. I'm like, read the red book to get vision to understand you could take this somewhere really cool and get your nights, evenings, and weekends back, and make some fantastic money and really understand what freedom and flexibility is. Language of Sales is fantastic. I think most sales books. I'm a big fan, and people should understand all the different coaching vectors that we've been presented with and put them in their toolbox. Like, understand kind of some Buffini, some Fairy, some Ninja, some Bold. Like, they're all really good. Also understand that half the time those guys are really talking about mindset, not use this super cool app or the super cool script. Like, yes, those are important. And then half of what all those guys do is mindset. Like, the most important real estate that you'll ever get to play with in your whole life is the 6 inches in between your ears. Like, you somehow figure out how to become a ninja on that, and literally you just wrote your ticket to anywhere, like Willy Wonka. I've got a golden ticket.
Yeah. And I do want to back up and just mention, because I kind of cut you off as you were saying it. I was saying it in case someone was listening and said, what did they say? It's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, MREA is what I said. And the Millionaire Real Estate Agent is a book by Gary Keller. And it talks about how to treat your real estate business like a business. And it's something that Rob and I were talking about before the call, is just that a lot of folks do jump in and they kind of can get stuck in the trenches, whether that's financially successful or whether you're struggling financially. Either way, they both have their own amount of overwhelm that result in you being an employee to your job. So whether you're a one-man band and you're hungry and hustling, or whether you're overwhelmed and maxed out, until you develop the skills it requires to treat your business like a business, you will be an employee to your job, and you will not have freedom and flexibility. Because freedom and flexibility when you're hungry and not busy is not freedom and flexibility because you're broke. So,
Yeah. Like, I could also do that without having to get a license. It's called being homeless.
Yeah. I called it like massive credit card debt in the early years of my business. I used to joke that I said, I don't know. What did I used to say to my husband about me and my husband? I said something like, I have a lot of freedom, but I don't have anything to show for it other than we're having a blast. Like, we're having a blast, but I'm totally broke. So that's not super fun after all when you run out of money.
I mean, I was broke in college, and yeah, that's a certain level of fun, but I get over trying to find $3 beer nights, or going, hey guys, come over to my house for cards, because that's what we can afford. And that, if you want that life, great. I mean, this is your life. We're Americans. You do have the freedom to choose your life, and that's fantastic. I just choose a cool one. I choose a big one, and that's what I want. And I like hanging out with people who want that too.
Now, are you also involved? So it sounds like you do a lot of coaching inside of your group, and I know that you're having a massive impact in that way. Are you also involved with recruiting agents? Or like, what is your weekly structure look like in terms of your priorities, your minimum, most important tasks? What does it look like for you?
So yeah, I do recruit agents, and usually my recruiting of agents is really sneaky. I call them up and I say, hey, I've heard about you, and your numbers, at least on paper, look fantastic. Let me coach your business for free. And if you like what I coach you, maybe you'll want to join my brokerage. And if you don't like what I coach you, great, we just wasted some coffee, but that's usually not happened. And if you still want to join the brokerage, I'll just still coach your business. That's fine too. But most people kind of go, man, I'm getting all this from Rob at like an hour a week, and it's moving the needle of my business. What would happen if I was fully engaged? What would that do to my life? And that answering that question is usually why they join. So I spend most of my time teaching, coaching, or lead generating, like picking up the phone and going, hey, did you do that thing? Or, hey, let's go grab coffee, that sort of thing.
That's awesome. So
my business is not much different than my agent team business. Like, they are supposed to pick up the phone, call FSBO's Expireds, call our Sphere, tell them about the event we're having, whatever. But if we're not all proactively trying to engage and grow our lives, then it's not going to grow, and goodbye.
So I just might have to swipe this idea from you about the free coaching because it's intriguing for me. How do you structure that? Is it like, hey, I really want to help you, and it's just gonna be super organic when I'm thinking about you, I'm gonna check in, see how you're doing, and give you some tips? Or do you get into like a structured coaching plan every 2 weeks, every week, whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. It's structured. Like I'm so terrible at details. It's not a skill of mine. And so if I left it open to, hey, whenever I think about you, happen to not be on the phone and want to pull out my text and go, howdy, you'd never get a text. Like it would be super rare. And that's not a great relationship to anyone. So it becomes structured, you know, if they want to engage. Structuring something, focusing on it, and not a lot of structure, not like Prussian structure, but structuring focus on it is the only way for anything to grow. So I was in education, right? And what you discover is children can learn without being uncomfortable, right? Education, the world is new, everything's fun. They know they want to learn new stuff. They're cool with just like jumping in a tree and falling down and scraping their leg. They're cool with all that. Learning is fun for them. At a certain point, it doesn't become fun. At a certain point, we go, now it's time to take our learning and apply it, and we spend the rest of our lives applying, or at least think. I mean, the only time we learn is when we're uncomfortable, right? Think about a time when you're super happy in life, and you're like, you know what I need to do? I need to shake things up and get uncomfortable and go learn something and work on a new skill to take. That's not, no. It usually goes, man, this isn't working. I thought I'd be here by now. This is like, this part of my organization is starting to shake. What do I do? And then that's when we go, wait, let's look at this right here. So adults only learn when they're uncomfortable. And if you're not uncomfortable, then you better get uncomfortable so you can learn. Otherwise, you're going to stay the same, and that's not fun.
That's
like,
awesome.
You'll just get beat.
Man, this has been so great. I just realized I always tell people we won't go much longer than 30 minutes. I think we're well on our way past that. So I don't want to keep our listeners.
I'm just rambling. I'm sorry.
No, it's been chock full. I've taken 2 pages of notes. And I always say that my favorite part, the favorite byproduct of having started this podcast is that I leave so inspired and so fired up. And I find that it helps me be more accountable in my own business, my own productivity. I never leave a call without a new idea to implement and just continually try to work on my own personal and professional development. So I really thank you. You've been a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure that anybody that's listening, it feels the same. So if folks want to get in touch with you, Rob,
you're just podcasting out your own education and growth journey. And, you know, think about it, like you're lead generating and demonstrating to people that you're a great resource in real estate by teaching yourself how to be a great partner in and around real estate, and then broadcasting that out of value to the whole world. And that's how you're getting business. And you're also getting a ton of education with and through that, because you have to hang out with more upper tier people, because nobody wants to listen to the guy failing, like, you know, that sort of thing. So the way you're doing things it's fantastic. It's like other agents to do this exact same thing. It's
just so fun too. I just love it. It's like my favorite thing to do. I'm just obsessed with it. So, so thanks for being on the show, seriously. And let us know how folks can get a hold of you, Rob.
They don't email me. If you email me, God knows when I'll get back to you. Like, and I think I warned you about the same thing. Like, call or text 303-888-0194.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, especially while you're traveling. That's just been phenomenal. So I can't wait to reconnect soon. Enjoy the rest of your journey. And for those of you who are listening, please, if you're enjoying the content you're getting from the show, please take the time to subscribe on podcasts on iTunes and leave a review, because it helps folks find us. It helps us get great guests and continue to build this circle of abundance. So I wish you all massive success, and you as well, Rob. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye. Appreciate you.
All right. You have a great day, everybody.